All right, so it's good to have you all back on the call. So we are just going to move into our next session for today's class. Please, if you can hear me, let me see your reactions coming.
Those ones. One.
Thank you so much for your responses. Please permit me to share my screen. Please confirm you can see my screen. Thank you. All right, moving on next is going to be our project management class, and we will be taking the business analyst class at the for the last as the last session rather. Okay, so the person who will be taking us on this session is none other than Olajumoke. Olajumoke began her career as an administrative officer before transitioning into IT project management, where she has built several years of hands-on experience delivering successful projects. She has earned multiple professional positions, further strengthening her expertise project delivery, governance, and stakeholder management. In addition to her project leadership experience, she has trained several organizations and individuals on project management, equipping teams with practical tools and methodologies to improve project outcomes. She also ISO standards. Currently, she serves as a project manager at Panoramic Synergy Enterprises, where she leads cross-functional teams to deliver strategic initiatives efficiently and effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, with a clapping of hands in the chat room, let's welcome our third trainer for today who will be taking us on the project management. And the topic says stakeholders management. Olajumoke, are you there?
All right, good morning, Mercy. Can everyone hear me? Good morning, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
So the name is Olajumoke Akingbemila. I can see Bamila there. So the A will replace with E. Thank you. All right, please, I'll just be sharing my screen. Kindly let me know when you can see my screen. Did you get that, Mercy?
Yes, that's noted. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Please, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. You can put
All
it
right.
on projection.
Sorry?
Please project your screen.
So yeah, is this fine?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's class. And today we'll be looking at project stakeholder management, right? So first, we'd like to ask ourselves to say what is who are stakeholders basically? Who are the people that we consider as stakeholders? And I would say that stakeholders are individuals, any individual, group, or organization who is interested in a project or who is affected by the outcome of a project. That's who we can call a project stakeholder, right? And then I'll give examples, right? If you're building a house, you use a building, let's assume that we want to build a house as a project. That's the project that we're getting on. On that project, who do you think will be considered as a project as a stakeholder? You're going to consider the project sponsor. That's the person in particular who actually paid or who is going to pay for that building, for that project in itself, right? That's the project sponsor. You're going to have the project owner, that's the client, the person or the company that is paying for the building, right? Project sponsor is basically the person that is approving funds. You have the project manager, who is the person planning and coordinating the entire project. You have the architects, you have the engineers, contractors. All these persons are considered as stakeholders, right? Successful projects require managing stakeholder expectations and engagements, and the goal is actually to build positive relationships, reduce resistance, and ensure satisfaction, right? I'd mentioned that examples of stakeholders are clients, team members, suppliers, government agencies, and the community where that building is going on, or the community where that project is going on, right? So we can see here that the project is at the center. For every other thing surrounding it, these people are the stakeholders. These are the people you can categorize as stakeholders: the project sponsor, end users, suppliers, regulators, community, team members, functional managers, and then customers. These are this particular project stakeholders, right? So the key processes in stakeholder management, we'll look at identifying stakeholders, we'll look at planned stakeholders engagement, we'll also look at manage stakeholders engagement, we'll look at monitor stakeholders engagement. So for the identify stakeholders, you have where you determine who is affected and their influences, right? This is a process whereby you're trying to look for everyone who can be affected or who this project is going to affect, either directly or indirectly. And the purpose of this, right, is to know who your stakeholders are. You identify the project sponsor from the very beginning of the project, your customers, and you document all of these things, right? So when you want to plan stakeholders engagement, this is where you involve developing different strategies to effectively engage stakeholders, how you want to engage your stakeholders on that particular project, right? Based on their needs, based on their influence, and based on their own expectations. And the purpose of this is maybe to decide or to communicate and work with each stakeholders. Each stakeholders will probably come with different ways they want to be communicated to, different ways that they want their engagement to be, right? Some, maybe your project sponsor is saying, oh, I want you to schedule monthly meetings, right? And then the project team, you have to send emails to them. Remember that all these people are stakeholders, but yeah, they have different ways of engagement. So you need to also factor that in and state it clearly how how you would engage your stakeholders, right? So you have managed stakeholders engagement. This is where you want to know how actively you want to communicate with your stakeholders, right? How you want to address their concerns. how you want to resolve issues with them, how you want to keep them involved throughout the entire project. And you have to put your stakeholders in the know for everything that is going on that particular project. And then the purpose of this is to build strong relationships with your stakeholders, because they are very important people on a project, right? If you ignore your stakeholders, you probably have a failed project, because there'll be nobody to support you, and you probably not even get funds for that particular project. So you have to have like a great relationship with your stakeholders. So you monitor stakeholders engagement. This is where you involve regularly reviewing stakeholders' relationship. You measure their satisfaction. This can be done via interview. You can send out a form just to fill their pulse, to know if you're doing the right thing, to know if everything that you said you're going to do on the project is going as planned, right? It's just to communicate to them. And in this space, you have communication plan. You can, track your relationship with all of your stakeholders, right? So let's look at who identify stakeholders. The purpose is to understand who is impacted or influenced by the project. The input. So first, you know that input in project management processes simply means the information, right, documents or resources that you need to really start a process on every project management process, right? That is what inputs are. So moving forward, when you see input, it just means like every information or document or resources that will be used in each processes. And when you see tools and techniques, right? Tools are techniques and methods. They are method or skills that you use to turn the input into your desired results, right? And outputs are basically your deliverables. They are your documents, your final results, so to say. These are evidences that you show that, oh, this has been done, right? So we have identified stakeholder. This is like the process flow. And in the inputs, we have project charter, we have business documents. Remember, I said inputs are like documents that you use for each process. So here we have the project charter, we have the business documents, we have agreements, we have enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. So I'll explain this. Project charter is a document, right? And this document explains what the project is about, what exactly would happen on that project. So you can also call it like a project plan. That's what a project charter is. It gives you a full glimpse of everything that is going to go on that project, right? And we have the business document. Business document is also information showing why did you even take up this project in the first place? Why is this project needed? So in some organizations, you have your business document embedded in your project charter. So once you pick up your project charter, you're able to see the summary of everything that is going on that project. But for some organizations, right, you will have them separately. So project charter is showing what the project is about. Business document is showing why this project should even happen in the first place and why the project is needed. Agreement, these are contracts or agreements with customers, suppliers, or partners, right? So I know that we're familiar with, maybe let's use Lagos State as an example. Lagos State is built like repairing a road. You see like a board, right, where they write who is actually doing that project, time frame for that project, agreements of that project, right? It's just for everybody to see. Because of course, whoever is planning that road, you're a stakeholder, right? So you are aware of everything that is going on that project, when the project starts and when the project would finish, right? You have enterprise environmental factors. You can also call this EEF. So these are things outside the project that can affect it. And it could be like a company culture, laws or market conditions, right? So if you are building a house, you're going to need market input, because of course you'll be buying materials. All of these things, you would need them at the beginning of that project. You have organizational process assets where you have existing company templates, on that particular project. I want to believe that for most projects that we do is really not a one new project that nobody has ever done before, or even something that that company has ever done before. Most times it's a project that most likely happens often in that organization. So you look at your organizational process assets. There you also have it like your lessons learned so that you don't repeat mistakes um from other projects on this new project that you're about to like begin, right? For tools and techniques, these are your skills, these are methods that you want to use. You have stakeholder analysis, you have expert judgment, you have meetings, you have data gatherings, you have meetings with your stakeholders, you have expert judgment, people that you know that have successfully done this project before. You bring them on board to tell you how things can go properly on this project. For the stakeholder analysis, you identify who the stakeholders are and understand their influence. You put in their own thoughts, right, in the project. You would not just work based on your own thoughts, you also hear from your stakeholders so that you can have a proper understanding of what they want, and then it gives you a successful project. Data gathering, gather data from different experts. You also have you collect information. There are different ways you can collect information. Could be via interview, you could get a form whatsoever, just to gather data for this particular project. For outputs, we have stakeholders register, you have change requests, you have project management plan, updates. Stakeholder register is a list of all your stakeholders, including their roles, their interests, influence, and contact details, right? Once you identify your stakeholders, this is a document that you're going to put together to state clearly who are your stakeholders and their roles and the influence they have on that project. Change request is a document also where you put all your suggested changes. If new stakeholders or requirements are discovered, you're going to document them in this change request. Then the project management plan updates these are updates made to the project plan based on the stakeholders' information, right? And this sits with the project managers oftentimes, right? It sits with the project managers. It's a plan on how it can also be a plan on how the entire project would go. And these are also um, documents that the project manager would revisit often when having meetings with stakeholders. Yeah. So this is a sample of what a project charter looks like. You can just type on your phone or your any browser. You can just put in Claude AI. You can simply tell Claude AI that give me a sample of a project charter or give me a template, right? And you can put it in your own, you can put in your own information and this can work for you or whatsoever project that you're working on. You can see that here it's just showing us what the project title of the project, who are the project sponsor, if it's an individual group, organization, you write it there, dates when the project is starting, and other information that anyone can pick up and really understand what that project is about, right? So plan stakeholders engagement, right? This is the purpose will be to create tailored communication and involvement plans, and the input will be project management plan, stakeholder register, tools, analytical techniques, meeting, expert judgment, and the output will be stakeholder engagement plan. We have example here that monthly newsletter for parents. Most times we know when children are in school, you see their school sending you monthly newsletter for maybe how an event that happened in school or an event that is going to happen in school. Is just keeping the parents informed. Of course, they are stakeholders, right? So they need to know what is going on in the school. It's the same thing here. So we have here the project management plan, right? I'd explained it earlier that it's just an overall plan for managing the entire project. It's just a plan that shows that, oh, this project is going to go this way. This is the time frame for the project. In some organization like where I work, we call it like our PID, where we share with our clients to see in details what is going on that project, right? So the stakeholder register would also come in here as an input where you have all your stakeholders register, your stakeholders information and all their details basically. The enterprise environmental factors will also come in here. Who are the people that the government, the external persons that are involved on the project? You're going to always have these documents at every point in your inputs, and the organizational process assets too, the company's templates and policies, lessons learned from previous projects is something that will be handy all through the process, right? It's just going to be like a guideline for you. So anytime you feel like something is about to go wrong, you go back to your lessons learned document to check that is this something that had occurred before? How did we resolve this? How did we mitigate it? Or how did we work through it in the last project? And you're going to implement it on this new project that you're on. For the tools and techniques, you have expert judgment, you have meetings, analytical techniques, data representation. So your expert judgments, this is about asking experienced people for advice. You don't do project on your own like you know everything. Nobody knows everything, right? Every project cannot be for one person. That's why there is a team to run that project. So you look for expert judgments. You ask experts who have people that you know. Of course, you will know people that have done this kind of project before, and then you bring them into to old hands with you to get a successful project. Meetings, you discuss your project with your project team and the key stakeholders. You can have these meetings weekly, you can have monthly. However way you decide to have these meetings, it could be virtual, it could be physical. Just to make sure that these meetings are being held for is just to carry them along and to also allow people on the project know at what point we are on that project. For the analytical techniques, these are you analyze stakeholders to decide the best way to engage each one of them. I've mentioned earlier that some stakeholders want you to engage with them physically, some want you to engage with them virtually. Even goes as far as if all of them want virtual, right? Some want it on Teams, some want it on Zoom, and maybe even as simple as a WhatsApp video call or voice call. So it depends. You need to analyze these things with your stakeholders and then decide what best way work for each stakeholders. Data representation. So you're going to use like a chart, right? Such as you have different of them, like a power interest grid. So just group your stakeholders based on their level of influence and their interests. So you know that maybe two persons agree with the same thing. Another stakeholder maybe with somebody else agrees with the same thing. You're just going to put them. It's just a simple drop down chart just to explain how these stakeholders have their own interest, right? Data representation. This is where you have different. Okay, I think I just explained what data representation is about. Where is a chart, right? Where you have different stakeholders, what suits different stakeholders, right? And analytical technique is you just deciding what way to engage your stakeholders. So the output for this is stakeholders engagement plan. This stakeholders engagement plan is a document, and this document includes and it also explains who needs to be communicated with, right? What information they need to know, how often should these updates be received by the stakeholders, and who are the people to communicate these things to them. So on some projects, right, you don't team members do not have the right to inform stakeholders about anything. It sits with the project managers, and sometimes there are some information that team members are allowed to pass on to the stakeholders. So this document states it clearly. Also, this document will also tell you the best way to keep your stakeholders engaged and supportive. How do you want them to support you? How do you want them to engage you on how do you want the engagement with them to be on this project? So this is like a basic stakeholder engagement plan. So yeah, we have areas of interest, the project phase that you are on, engagement approach, engagement method, and frequency. So once this document is done and distributed to every stakeholder, they are aware, well, key stakeholders, right? They are aware of the engagement that they'll be having. Is it weekly, monthly? Is it bi-weekly? Right? All of these documents you would be shared with the stakeholders. So we have here manage stakeholders engagement, and the purpose is to work with stakeholders to meet their needs and expectations. It's not something that you want to just do on your own. The input will be stakeholders engagement plan, communication plan. The tools will be interpersonal skills, communication method, meetings. Output will be change request, project document updates. So outputs, these are the results of everything that you've put together in the input, right? And the project management plan comes in again. You have to use it in this particular process flow. It's the overall plan for managing the project. It comes in almost at the point of every process, right? Your project documents, these are your reports, your schedules, your risk register, your issue log. Every issue that you have, you've documented it in your issue log, your risk register, how you've done your risk, how you want to mitigate, how you want to accept it. You would put all of these things, and they're under project documents. So most times these project documents, they contain different documents in it. So your reports are maybe monthly reports or your weekly reports that you submit. There is standalone documents in itself. Your schedules, your risk register is a document on its own. Your issue log is a document on its own. But of course, you're going to call all of these things project documents. Your enterprise environmental factors is here again, where you have the company culture, your policies, your regulations, and your external conditions, and also the organizational process assets, right? For the tools and techniques, you have expert judgment. Yes, you're still going to need experts, right, in this process to tell you exactly how things will go so that things doesn't go wrong on the project. Communication skills, very important, right? This is where you clearly share project updates and listen to feedbacks. You cannot afford to not have communication skills as a project manager. You have to state all your information very clearly. Keep asking people, do you get it? You need to understand that what you've communicated was taken just the way you want the information to be passed. Interpersonal skills. You need to build good relationships, negotiate, resolve conflicts, and influence people. Of course, you are coming together as a team now. I don't know you from anywhere. Maybe this project is the very first one we're doing together. We need to have interpersonal skills, how to communicate. You as a project manager, you would have over 6 to 10 people working on your team, and there will be clashes here and there. So it's your duty to be able to resolve conflicts. Don't be biased. Build good relationships with your team members and stakeholders. Right? This will definitely help your project. Right? You have ground rules. Ground rules are where you set clear rules for everyone on everyone on the project. You tell them clearly how you want things to be done, how communication needs to be done, how you want a particular thing on that project to go. So in my organization, I say clearly that when an information is passed, maybe on our WhatsApp group or a mail, please acknowledge it. It's very important. It just shows me that it tells me a lot to say that I passed a message and it was received. Right. It's as good as just putting a thumbs up. React, just do something to make me know that that you got my message. So I say to everyone that's on my project, I say to my team members, I'm sure if they call any one of them, they'll ask them what is one thing, ground rules that I say is always respond to messages on the group, emails. Yes, it just shows that the message was well passed and you got the information. In a place where you do not understand, they are able to ask you questions and you're able to expatiate on that particular information that you've passed. Also, meetings, hold regular meetings to discuss process and address concerns. There could be an issue on the project. You allow your team members know that, oh, you're available to have meetings with them at every point where they think they're confused. You need to pull in people to help them resolve these things. It's very important that they are aware. And then weekly meetings should happen. Regardless of this weekly meetings, I feel like when there are issues at any time, we should be able to jump on a call as a team, right, to resolve issues and concerns. For the output, we have change requests, we have project management plan updates, and you have your project document updates. Now, your change request is a change or anything that has happened on the project where you've documented it down, issues, you've identified your stakeholders, you're putting down the change that these stakeholders have made, you're putting them down in your change request document. For project management plan update, you're updating that plan, right? To say, maybe this was not in the plan initially. Along the line, we decided to also do this. You're going to update your plan. That's why you can see an update at the back. You're going to update that project management plan. Your project documents, you're going to you're going to update that document too, right? You're going to put in other informations that you later got while working on that project. You're going to update your project document plan because, of course, while you're still working on the project, some things might be missing and then some things might be discovered, and then you want to impute them so you can just simply update your document, right? So we have the monitor stakeholders engagement. So this is where you ensure all engagements, right, are ensure engagement strategies remain effective, right? This is also where you have the input as project documents, performance data. Your tools will be data analysis, decision making, meetings. Meetings will always come up at every point because they're very important. You're able to feel the pulse of your team members. You're able to hear their concerns during these meetings. Outputs will be work performance information and your change request, right? So project management plan, if you notice it as it's a document that comes up at every beginning of your project, of the process. Every point you would definitely see your project management plan because it should be with you all through the lifespan of the project, right? This is the plan stating how those projects will be managed. Your project documents, all your issue logs, your report, they're also going to be with you. And they are with you because you constantly update them all through the process of the project. Your work performance data, this is information about how the project is progressing, right? We've gotten to this point, we've done the roofing of the building. Oh, we just bought chandeliers for this particular room and it has been fixed. We've cemented the visitors room this is the document where you put all that information, right? Enterprise environmental factors. This is something that would always evolve in every beginning of your project. You have to always factor these things in. Your tools and techniques: data analysis, decision making, data representation, communication skills, meetings. So you analyze feedback and project results to see if stakeholders are satisfied. You want to know if your stakeholders are satisfied. So you do like an analysis, you check through um it could be, you can do your analysis. Data analysis can be done through any any tool for data analysis, basically. And the truth is, as a project manager, you might really not know so much about data analysis. That's why you can get a data analyst to work with you on a project for this particular reason, right? So they're able to help you analyze your stakeholders and get feedback from them, where you can now work on the results of this analysis and improve, work better or improve on the result that comes out, right? So decision making, this is where you decide if changes are needed. Some changes might just, you might not really need it. You might just want to document it anyways, but then you need to discuss with your team members, you need to discuss with key stakeholders if these decisions are really needed on the project, or you can skip it, right? So data representation, this is where you use charts or graph to understand stakeholders' information. Communication skills, you talk with your stakeholders and listen to their feedbacks, right? Everybody loves somebody that listens to them. Not just listen, you also take actions. So when your stakeholders gives a feedback, you're able to work on that feedback and give them the results that they want. Meetings, again, like I said earlier, that meetings will always happen to review progress and discuss any concern. Of course, these meetings on each processes, there are different reasons why this meeting is happening. So this particular meeting is now to review progress and discuss any concerns that they have on this new phase that they've gotten to. For outputs, you have your work performance information. That's a report showing how stakeholders' engagement has been working so far from the beginning of the project. You have your change request document. You have, again, your plan management, your project management plan. You would have updated it and then fixed in all the changes that was made. And also your project document, you would also update all of these documents with your stakeholder register or your communication records. All of these plans would be updated in the outputs of monitor stakeholders engagement. So tools and techniques, you have stakeholders analysis, mapping influence and interest. You have communication skills, active listening, clear messaging. State your message clearly. Don't let it be too what's the word now? Just put it in a very simple way for anyone to understand. Meetings and workshop. How do we want to have these meetings? Where do we want to have these meetings? It should be clearly stated. Data analysis, measure engagement success. Then you have your interpersonal skills. You want to know how to negotiate. You want to know how to resolve conflicts amongst your team members, right? So this was the power interest grid that we were stating earlier. So you want to say, um, this is the key um, stakeholder you want to keep satisfied, manage closely, monitor, keep informed. So this is like an interest grid that you want to have. So you want to know the people that you should keep satisfied, the stakeholders, the ones you want to manage closely, the ones you need to monitor, and the one you need to keep informed, right? So plot each stakeholder by their power and interest. So high power plus high interest, you manage them closely. High power plus low interest, you keep them satisfied. Low power plus high interest, you keep them informed. Then low power plus low interest, you monitor them. Thank you. I don't know if anyone has questions. I'll be here to answer. Mercy, you can take it up. Mercy, are you here? Can anyone hear me? Please, can anyone hear me? I hope I've not been speaking to myself. Okay, Mercy, are you here? Since I don't know if anyone has questions, I'll be here to answer. Thank you. Okay, can anyone just, in few sentences, just state clearly what you've learned from the class if there are no questions? You can drop it in the chat room. Just in a sentence, what did you learn from the class today if we don't have questions? Are we here? Can I hear anybody's voice? It feels like I'm speaking to myself.
Yes, please, we are here. Thank you very much. I'm scanning the chat room to check if there are any questions. Okay, we have something from Dr. Loveday. Could you please check the chat room? There's a comment from Dr. Loveday, please.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes. Jumoke, there's a comment from Dr. Loveday in the chat room. Could you
Oh,
please check
okay.
it out?
The stakeholder management process with the ITC was included. I don't think this is a complete question. So I don't think this is a complete question. I don't get it.
All right, please, there's another from John.
Yes, John, yes. Please, how do we measure stakeholders' interest to know if I just showed that was the oh, okay. Yes, a comment on what was learned today. Yes, very well. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lovedays. And for John, yes, there are different tools, right, that you can use to measure stakeholders' interest. And I think I shared one at the end of the class, right? And like I said, you can also just use to get the different types of tools, right? You can go to Claude AI and just type in different tools to measure stakeholders' interest. I'm sure a whole lot of them will pull up, right? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, please, I want everyone to kindly appreciate our trainer for today's session. I want to see each and every one of us using the icons. Please and please. I hope you can hear
Hello,
me loud and clear.
Damola, can you hold? Please,
Hello?
There's a further question from Bello in the chat room. Can you check it out, please? It's down a couple
All
of
right.
minutes.
Are Omonile part of stakeholders? Yes, when building Yes, there are people that you should consider because one way or the other, they'll kind of disturb you on that project, right? They are stakeholders. Of course, we have different projects for when you get a land, when you want to build. Yes, someone leaders are part of people that you should consider. If not, they can affect that project. That project you might not finish that project. That's why you see some houses, they are just abandoned. Only if they are able to sort this money less, they could get a move, what's it called? They could get help me with the English. They could move forward from that project, right? So yes, Ismail, yes, some leaders are part of stakeholders. So I think I've answered all the questions. Thank you, Ismail, too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for today's session. I really learned a lot, Miss Olajumoke.
Thank you so much.
And I would like everyone to appreciate her in the chat. You can use your emoji or you can just send a message of thank you for today's session.
Thank you, everyone.
All
too.
right. So we'll be moving to the next section pretty soon, but we still have a few minutes to spare. I would like to randomly call on one person to just give me a general overview of what they've learned today. And please, Mr. Christopher, can you tell us what you're playing today so far? Hello, can you hear me? If you can hear me, you can unmute your mic to speak, or you can send a message in the chat box. Please, I need to know that I'm audible and you can hear me clearly, please.
Yes, we can hear you. Mr. Christopher, you can now speak. You can unmute yourself and speak now, if you wish to, and you can also drop your comment in the chat box. Thank you. Damola, you can go on, please.
Sorry, my network was breaking. I didn't hear what you said.
No, I was just informing everyone that our participants can now unmute themselves to speak if they want, if they wish to. So you can go on. Adi Damola, are you there? Damola, can you hear me? All right. So Damola was asking anyone on the call to kindly speak up and tell us what you've learned today before we proceed to this final section for today. So does anyone want to speak up? I don't want to call names. So let anyone just tell us what you've learned from today's 3 classes that we've had to this juncture. Mr. Vasco Okudua. Okay, yes. Please, you can unmute yourself, Mr. Vasco. Yes. Let me try to help you with that from my end. Please try to unmute yourself and speak, Mr. Vasco.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, first of all, I want to apologize because I came late into this class, I think at the end of the class. And based on experience, I would like to ask a question anyway, if I'm still permitted.
All right. For which of the sessions? This recently concluded one, last one?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to in the process of carrying out a project, whereby you have to involve stakeholders.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vasco. Give me a second, please. Madam Jumoke, are you still with us? Madam, are you there? Madam Jumoke, are you still with us, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. We have one more question, please. Mr. Vasco, can you go ahead?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Like I was saying, that in a process of carrying out a project, which of course you have to involve stakeholders to that project. And during the process, you find out that there's a chaos, different interest to that project. How do you address such chaos or differences in order for you to have a successful successful completing your project? Are you with me?
Yes, I'm true. So we
Yeah.
had mentioned earlier that we have key stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
And most times their own decisions carries weight than every other stakeholders on the project.
Okay.
So if there are different interests, right? I'm sure even stakeholders that are not key would not want to um push so hard, because most likely the money for the project is not coming from you. So you
Yeah.
just find a way to really understand from the project sponsor what it is that made them come to that conclusion. And most times you will just agree with them, because at the end of the day, you're not the one paying for the project, and you're not the one that directly needs the project. So the key stakeholders are people that need the project, people that are the person paying for the project, organizations or group of people paying for the project. So if what they want is clearly stated, and then maybe there's one person, a lower stakeholder, trying to say, oh, it could be done this way. At the end of the day, you just follow the person that directly needs the project. Is that clear?
Yes, that might work. You see, what about when the grievance redress mechanism, GRM, can that also
Also,
address
also it
grievances?
depends on the kind of project, right? If you are doing a project that like the project that I do in my organization, we're delivering ISO standards to organizations. If the stakeholders, right, the main person, the person paying for that project, if he says this is what he wants, and then team members from that organization are saying, oh, it should be done this way, most times it comes down to the the team members from the organization. We finally do what they want, because they are the one going to use that product. They are the one going to work with the product. So they have the right to go and explain to their boss or the MD who is sponsoring the project, to say, oh, this is what it is that we're going to do. What I'm trying to say in all of this is one person has to listen to the other person to understand why we should do it this way. Right.
Yeah, and as well, without the support and agreement of the stakeholders, the project might not fly.
Yes, it will not even fly. It would not even fly.
Me too. I'm in public service, and my office is my office is the public-private partnership agency. So, why I'm asking this question is that we've seen in some cases whereby we're to embark on a project, like, for example, establishment of an enterprise park and all that. And the part of the project, the are part of the stakeholder, I mean. Then the direct stakeholder, example, the entrepreneurs and all that will also be carried along. When there are different interests, the differences are not well addressed. It will affect the project, and that's why you see whereby we are having a
Pending
uncompleted project and all
suspended
that.
project. Yes.
Yes. So we must try as much
okay.
as possible to have a system that we can actually use to address grievances. Thank you.
Okay, then please can I come in here a bit, Mr. Vasco, from that perspective you are coming from. Hello, are you there?
I'm here with
Are you there? Good. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. You're only just talking about stakeholder crisis management, if I can get you right. Right? Good. Now,
I'm sorry, Dr.
building,
Lovely. I'm sorry
yes,
to interrupt you. My sincere apologies, sir. We are already cutting
yeah,
into the next section. So please, can you keep it
okay.
brief? My apologies. I don't want to cut you short.
Yes,
Please go
we're
ahead,
going to
sir.
be very brief about this. Yes.
Very well.
When so just summarize it here. When building a collaborative platform, be it public-private partnership or private to private or any service that involves collaborators, whosoever is involved or the group involved must have a toolkit for managing crisis. And basically, based on personal experience, we follow those 5 processes, which Mr. Olajumoke actually mentioned. First and foremost, you need to do a stakeholder identification. Are you following now?
Of course, yes.
Wherein you keep registers of all the relevant stakeholders. Yeah. Then the next thing then is you do your analysis that involves the power grid, the interest grid. You understand it? You review it. You weigh those who have the interest. Then the most important thing, which mostly lead to project abandonment, is the stakeholder mapping. The stakeholder mapping. If you're unable to place each stakeholder in the right perspective, there will always be a mismatch of alignment and interest. Then you cannot begin to plan your engagement. How do you communicate? Which is also an outcome of the stakeholder mapping. Then thereafter, you now start managing your crisis, either meetings, conflict resolutions, and the method of all of that. That's how to just make the process go seamless. That's how to manage various stakeholders' interests. I hope this puts everything to rest.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Loveday. That was well said. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much once again, Ms. Olajumoke. Thank you very much, Dr. Loveday. Thank you very much, Mr. Vasco. And of course, thank you very much, everyone. Damola, are you there? We'll be moving on very briefly to the next section. Damola, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please take.
All right. Thank you for that amazing session, Mr.